You're listening to Were You Still Talking? Hey, welcome back. This is Joel Albrecht, and in the Zoom studio today, I have Robert Wolf, MD. He's an author and radiologist. I believe I said that right. He attended the University of Michigan Medical School and completed his training at Brown and Yale universities. He grew up in a suburb of Detroit as the only child of Ervin and Judith Wolf. Their stories of their escapes from communist Hungary and his father's tragic history of escaping the Nazis twice but losing his own parents inspired Robert to document his parents' tales and share those stories with Jewish groups, history aficionados, that would be me, and biography lovers throughout the United States, Europe, and elsewhere. In Not a Real Enemy, Robert shares his family saga and the forgotten history of the nearly 500,000 Hungarian Jews who were deported and killed during the Holocaust through an epic and inspiring tale of daring escapes, terrifying oppression, tragedy, and triumphs. Oh, this will be fun. Hey, welcome to the podcast.
Right?
I
don't need to add anything.
Yeah. I have a weird question, and I don't know if everyone knows this. I don't know if everyone knows the answer to this, but what is anti-Semitism?
Wow. That's a strong start to the interview, to the talk. It's racism. It's hatred. It's a subset of hatred. That's the best way I can put it. It's something that's hard to wrap my arms around. It's hard to understand. I'm fighting it in my own little way. I can't do it alone, but it's a hatred towards the Jewish race, the Jewish religion, Israel, and now it's expanded to Jewish people around the world. I mean, it's Canada, Australia, here in the U.S., Europe. It's a big problem. It got accelerated. Obviously, they fueled the fire with October 7th, and just like Islamophobia was fueled after the 9/11 attacks that people forget about and deny, just like they deny the Holocaust. The Holocaust was the ultimate example of anti-Semitism, but it's existed since the Old Testament. We can go back to Genesis and Exodus. Exodus, no surprise, since my dad was a 4-time escape artist, that Exodus is my favorite book of Moses in the Old Testament, because it's about not really an escape, but the Exodus from Egypt, the freedom that the Jewish people finally got. And it still took them many years to establish themselves, carry it forward to whatever you want, 1948. Although the Jewish people in the late 19th century had it pretty good. My dad's parents, who were killed at Auschwitz, had it pretty good in the late 19th century into the early 20th century up to World War I. And then my dad's father, not to get off the subject, he was a captain. He was a doctor. He ended up being a dentist, but he was a captain on a Red Cross ship in the Black Sea during World War I. So he was a hero. He contributed to society. And this, now we're talking about the 20s. They struggled to get a dental practice going before they had my father. And then things got really tough for the Jewish people starting in the late 20s, 30s. Money probably was a big issue, the Great Depression, the big Hitler war machine, the Germans, the propaganda with the people in order to get their economy going, whatever because might makes right, and military makes money. I mean, you lose people, but you also, I shouldn't say, but also you make it's an investment, I suppose, in obtaining territory or whatever your goals might be. It's wrong, it's killing, but the Jewish people they suffered anti-Semitism terribly in Hungary from the 1930s till who knows, even now. People ask me about modern Hungary's politics, and I don't know much about it, but I know that Orban is feared or questionable as far as a leader in the Jewish mind, and maybe for all Hungarians. A lot of people call him Putin's puppet, for example, and that he might give a land for people deal, like the Hungarians did with the Polish people, the early refugees in early World War II. When the Poles left and went to Hungary, they sent them back in a land for people deal. And as you probably know, it ended badly for the Polish people. So, anti-Semitism is just it's one facet of racism. And this is what I fight. This is all I do right now. Recently retired from medicine after 35 years, if you can believe it.
Wow, that's amazing. So was it after you retired that you decided to write the book, or did you start working on your father's story while you were still
Great question.
practicing?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to be part-time for 20 years. So I've been
Hmm.
part-time since 43 because I had severe burnout back in the day. I mean, there's more to life than making money. And that's one lesson that my dad taught me, with his
Yeah,
Hungarian accent. Don't do it for the money. And he was
that's
right.
great.
So, and it's true. And
Yeah.
no, it's 2018, 2000. My mom passed in 2016. My dad in 1997, unfortunately. But in the 70s, they wrote the story. And autobiography, paper and pencil, to typewriter, to computer, to disc. I might have read the manuscript maybe once, didn't think much of it except his first escape. And I was busy with family and practicing radiology. And so after my mom passed away, the historian friend of the family handed me the disc and said, "You got to read this. You really got to see the story." And this was 2016 now. Took care of mom's affairs. I retired for a year and went back to work in 2018, helping out another radiology friend. Don't burn your bridges, another lesson. Stayed
Mhm.
friends with him, even though our partnership got a little bit dissolved, but he had a good job for me. He needed help. And that brought me to the book. So as a radiologist, we've got the two screens, the right and the left. The left screen's the patient queue. The right screen are the images. And between cases, the left screen was my dad's autobiography, and the right screen was me dictating his biography. And so this is 2018. So I've been at this now, I don't know, 7 years. And if you knew me 7 years ago or 8 years ago, you'd say this guy would never talk about the Holocaust. He'd never write a book about his parents' history. But my parents wrote the stories as though they'd happened the previous day and as though they knew I would do this. And don't you hate it when when your parents are right? I mean, they were, and also as they knew that anti-Semitism would be a recurring theme. And when I first started the project, nothing was like it is now, and so it's evolved into something that's even more pertinent and more poignant than it was when it first started, for sure.
I ask this question of all of my recent guests. Well, probably for 8 years I've been asking this. I mean, could you ever imagine growing up that you would have to fight this again? I mean, our parents fought it, our parents' fought it. It seems like as a civilization we've come nowhere or slid back. And I guess it was I don't know. It seems to me it's been a silent problem for a while that people,
No doubt. Yeah,
you
no, I
know,
was one of three
yeah.
Jewish kids in my high school. My high school was 40% African American. I grew up in suburban Detroit. And I went to Hebrew school and bar mitzvahed at an Orthodox temple. I'm not
Hmm.
Orthodox now, but this is my gift back to the Jewish community and hopefully my parents' legacy and civilization as a whole, because anti-Semitism is not good for Christian people. It's not good for Muslim people, anybody,
Well, it's not good
because
for anybody.
the ones
Yeah.
that are rooting for Hitler, like Hamas and African Americans and LGBTQ and whoever deniers, you were next. You were not. You weren't part of the supreme race. You weren't Aryan. You guys were next. And it happened back in World War II. We don't talk a lot about disabled people getting killed, babies, the elderly. My dad was useful because he was a young man, so he was in a forced labor camp, probably saved his life.
Right.
95% of those forced laborers did not survive. And a lot of people don't know about these death marches in Europe. They talk about them in Okinawa and in the Pacific during World War II, but death marches, they occurred in Europe as well. So it's a mixed bag. And no, it's just not good for civilization as a whole. So this is what I do. I mean, and I don't have to be doing this. And like I say all the time, it's always one guy that ruins it for everybody. Hitler and Pol Pot and Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden. But people don't read about and they don't follow people that did good in this world, like Moses and Noah, Gandhi, Jesus, MLK. That's who people should be following. That's who people should be reading about and learning about, and how they chased peace and resolutions to the problems in our society. By the way, MLK getting great Jewish support in the 60s. It's well documented. And people don't realize what they're not reading about history. They're not taking the time to learn about things that happen. And it's not okay to say that the Bible is correct as a historical feature, as a historical document, but flash forward, 500, 1,000 years later, and the history is not correct. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. These things are well documented, and people are trying to destroy it or change it in whatever their warped way would be.
Yeah, it's part of it's one of these to the victor go the spoils kind of things, and I just never imagined. I mean, in America, the political arguments used to be basically matters of opinion, matters of how you want to run this country according to the way it was set up. And now that's not the argument anymore. That's
Uh,
not even the argument. It's gone beyond that.
well, I didn't.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I guess I digressed a little, and I tend to do that. I apologize, but
that's okay. That's okay.
one of three Jewish kids in my high school that was 40% African American, and we got bullied. We got bullied in
Hmm.
seventh grade and ninth grade because we were small or in the wrong corridor at the wrong time. They picked on, but it wasn't because I was Jewish or white or black. It didn't. That wasn't it. Everything. There was a lot of trash talk during sports and
Right.
all that, but we left it on the field. Once we were done with the game, football, baseball, you name it, basketball. And by the time I graduated high school, I was respected. You're a senior, you're smart, you're going places. Hopefully, you played a few sports. You've gotten to know people, and it's a whole different thing. And then college was different. It was probably college was my Tufts University might have been 35, 40% Jewish, if you can believe that. So I don't know about now, but it was a different way to integrate. And of course, we're all studying and we all want to go places. It's a totally different atmosphere. But no, I never felt racism or anti-Semitism first half of my life for sure. I had attendings that were Jewish, they were Muslim, they were African American, Asian, from med school on, residency, fellowship, and the 99% super nice people that love to educate. They loved medicine, and that's where it was. There was no, and in medicine, there's no room for racism and anti-Semitism. And if there is, you've got to put that behind you. One of the first things I learned in med school was you may not like every patient that you have. You may have patients you dislike, but you need to acknowledge it and move on. And I've had very few of those over the years. Of course, as a radiologist, I don't meet most of the patients. I just read their X-rays and CTs. But I've done enough barium enemas and upper GIs and angiography and other procedures, interventional. We can talk more about spine intervention later if you'd like, because we didn't really touch on that. Because spine disease is very common in the United States, but met a lot of patients, a lot of people over the years. And for radiologists, I guess I have pretty good bedside manner because you want to joke around because nobody wants to be at the hospital. I don't want to be there. The patient doesn't want to be there. So you,
Right.
you
Right.
try to keep it light. You
Yeah.
try to keep the person's mind off of what's going on and, talk about the weather or sports or music, something just to make the situation less difficult.
Yeah. It's really hard. It's kind of hard on everybody in the hospital that's doing that. And yeah, that did get me off the subject a little bit.
Got you laughing.
So I want to
You talk about
know
something funny?
yeah, let's hear some. Well, you said you actually had some funny stories before we started the podcast when I should have been recording. You had some funny stories from your dad.
I'll tell you what, my dad, okay, he was a four-time escape artist, twice from forced labor camp under Nazi Hungary, twice under communist Hungary.
Wow.
His third
Wow.
escape, he walked out of medical school. He had it with the communist system. He was done, and he went to the Vienna border and he BS'd an armed Russian guard that he was supposed to go fix radiology equipment of all things. And ultimately, my dad was an OBGYN. So, but ironically, he says, I got to fix X-ray equipment in the excellent so-and-so hospital in Austria. And he argues with the soldier, and he wins the argument.
That's a
He
great
challenges the
story because
soldiers.
what's a soldier going to know? That's
He
good.
wouldn't. He challenged them to call the administration to the hospital, so they let him go. Dad, he felt fear of repercussion. He feared if he was arrested, that would end his medical career, and he'd be in jail for who knows how long under communist Hungary. So he turned around and went back. But arguing with the soldier and winning that to me. And the other thing is, under communist Hungary, he missed an escape, but he was a four-time successful escapee, but he missed one. He went to the wrong train station, if you can believe it. The renegade that set it up, apparently he misunderstood what station. So he missed the station. He felt like the unluckiest guy in the world. And everybody who made the right train got arrested. And, the luck on this guy, I mean, including his medical school roommate. So the luck on this guy, I mean, it's an amazing story too. Another funny one is the beginning of the Hungarian Revolution. My dad he was wheeling back this one of those wheeled carts that you'd have in the dining room. It would be a temporary space heater and a storage area for booze and plates. I forget
Yeah.
what they're called. They're just like little portable tables, but they're mobile. They've got the wheels on them.
Right.
So my mom and dad were excited. They were foodies, so they were so excited about maybe buying their first piece of furniture ever. And so my dad's actually walking it. They never had a car in Hungary, so he's walking with it from the store back to his home. And meanwhile, the Hungarian Revolution is going on in the background. And the thing about this, they escaped soon after, a couple of weeks permanently from the country. But in the meantime, the damn thing got destroyed. It got stuck in an elevator or something. The wheel did, and it was irreparable damage to the thing. And they debated about leaving it behind when they left the country. So the little stories like that were funny. And as a kid, he had funny stories too, good memories with his parents, and it's important that he documented that. And I'm really appreciative. So, but yeah, and, good story, bad story, sad story, happy story, riveting. You can't put it down, but there are stories in the book that you need to put the book down for a few minutes and actually stop and think about what actually happened. So humor is
Well,
essential, even now,
yeah,
especially now.
I'm glad that you put their stories into a book because it's important. I mean, we need newer stories. If the old stories are going to be buried, then we need more and more of the real history written down and put out there. And especially this is great because it's personal. It's not just talking about a mass group of people. It's talking about individuals that have gone through this. How did they end up coming to America? Was that straight from Hungary? Is this where they ended up?
Yeah, they actually, so after the Hungarian Revolution in 56, not a lot of people know about that war. I called the Ukraine War the Hungarian Revolution on steroids now because it's been going on for years, unfortunately. I don't know if the Hungarians were lucky or not. The war was only about 2 weeks long, 2.5 weeks. 3,000 people died in that war, both sides included. 14,000 injured, and thousands of refugees, people that just got the hell out of the country because they had enough of the communists and they lost. If the Hungarians had won the revolution, it'd be a different story. But it ended quickly. It was tanks versus guns, snipers versus major bombs and bullets, and just a much bigger army, many, many tanks. And my mom and dad were frontliners at the time. Dad was already an OBGYN, and he had to double down as a trauma surgeon for 2 weeks. So he was sleepless for 2.5 weeks. And my mom was a med student at the time, never finished. She was only about 11 months away from finishing, but she ran the blood bank during the Hungarian Revolution. And when the dust settled and they saw the debris and the destruction in Budapest and how bad it was, and the communists were still in place, they decided to get the hell out. So they did. They were closing the borders quickly, chopping down big trees over major roads and pathways out of the country, and Russian planes flying over the territories near the borders to monitor who's leaving or trying to leave. And they had to endure all that. And this was late. This was November, December in 56. So the weather was crappy. It was cold, muddy. You could only bring limited possessions because it was quite the trek. But they made it. It's a very harrowing story. A priest helped them, which is an interesting little side story. And they donated to the priest's parish after they got to the United States. And they did that continually until they got a letter back saying that the gentleman had died, and so then they stopped. But even the renegade, even the guy that helped them through the mud and the sludge and the farms was spouting out anti-Semitic remarks all the way to the Austrian border. And once they got to Austria, they bribed the border guards with rum or whatever booze they had. They had very little, and they got drunk and they were lauding Hitler and saying how the Jews are bad, blah, blah, blah. And my parents were too smart to argue with them by now because they're so close to freedom. Why would you? So it's just the same as they kept their mouths shut during communism, even though they had a lot of colleagues trying to get them to buy into the system or to get them to try to rat them out by saying the wrong things. And they were too smart for all that. So they ended up in Vienna. And then a month later, after a harrowing boat ride to Ellis Island in New York, my mom's dad met them, and there was a strange dad. He'd been remarried. They got a divorce to save the family name during the anti-Semitism period, so that the family would survive. Got divorced, both got remarried. My mom's mom went to Israel, another story, and he took them to Providence, Rhode Island, after fixing a flat tire, which is another funny story. After everything they went through, that's how I wanted to end the book, but I didn't. We didn't. But they got a flat tire in New York City, and I would just start laughing because after everything, now it's like it ruins my whole day. God forbid I get a flat tire on I-95, So, and slowly but surely, Providence, very lost, not speaking English. Dad redid his residency in OBGYN at Harvard, Beth Israel, very, very prestigious. I couldn't get into any Harvard program in any specialty, and he managed to do it while taking elementary school and high school English. Wow. And then he ended up being an OBGYN, came to Detroit because there are no jobs in Boston, and delivered 10,000 babies in the Detroit area, which is, we'll call it redemption. It doesn't bring back the 6 million. It doesn't bring back my dad's parents who perished at Auschwitz, or the 50 to 60 million that died in World War II, not to mention under communist rule. But it does bring some life back. And he had no sign of PTSD. You would never know everything he went to. He was jovial and jolly. He would come home from work and tell dirty jokes, which I loved. He had Playboy magazine. He had a Playboy magazine subscription that my mom got for him probably every Father's Day. And
well, that was for the articles.
I don't, of course.
That was,
yeah, Hugh Hefner with the pipe.
It was always
the Vargas. What was it? The Vargas girl. I don't think my dad ever read a page, but as a kid boy, I loved sneaking in their closet when they were away and going.
Who didn't? They really did have good articles, but that's not why anybody got Playboy.
You're right. The cartoons are great. The women were beautiful. I'm sure it's still a great magazine. I don't know.
Oh, it's gone.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. It just got old. So
what was her name? Christy Hefner, was it? His daughter. I thought she took over for a while, but maybe not.
Yeah, it survived for a bit, but I think because the main attraction is everywhere and free now, you don't need to buy a magazine. So that
makes sense. Welcome to the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, welcome. I laugh about boobs over books. It's so hard to sell books because on Instagram or TikTok. As soon as I put on the page, I got bouncing boobs everywhere, and I'm like, it's the same for me. It's so distracting. I mean, who's going to read a book you can see?
And even if you discount the boobs, even if you take those out of the equation, the cats and the dogs are going to win out every time.
As a pet lover, I got to laugh at that too because I love animals. It's amazing. It's just it's another. I love animals as much as I love humor, sports, music. That's the thing with these Hamas and the people, the Hungarian commies and Nazis, they wouldn't think twice about chopping somebody's head off or torturing them
indiscriminately.
Indiscriminately. Yeah. That's the word and not caring about the beauty of the human life, the beauty of the human anatomy. Like that's what I am. I'm a radiologist. The beauty of the cell, and not just in humans, dogs, cats, giraffes, gorillas, whatever the case may be, and people that they dispel the beauty of life so quickly by trying to torture and maim just because of a different religion or color or race. It doesn't sit well with me. And so it fuels my fire in fighting it. And that's what I'm here for, of course.
Yeah, it's hard for me to conceive. It really is. Especially I grew up pretty sheltered because I grew up in a small town. I did live in Los Angeles for 11 years, and it was great. I didn't see a lot of racism when I was there, but it was probably because of where I lived and who I was living around. I mean, I did live through. I was there during the riots of the 90s, I guess 90s, it was the Rodney King riots. I was there for that, and that was bizarre. So I was literally hiding to try and not get beat up
shot
or something,
or killed.
Not many people were shot, but a lot of people were injured. It was nuts. Everything was on fire, like a block from me. In any case, growing up in the environment I didn't see a lot of racism, and I didn't experience a lot of it, and I just didn't realize how prevalent it was everywhere because I was so sheltered. And they have now used it. I mean, in the last, I would say 20 years, it has basically come back in a ridiculous. I mean, it's such an easy thing to use with the help of our technology. The propaganda is back. It can be bigger than ever. It's just absolutely nuts. And again, I don't see as much of it because that's not what they show me on the internet. But, someone who responds to it, that's all they're going to get. That's all they're going to get.
Yeah, the algorithm. People like Elon Musk, he fought it off a little bit too late, and he was distracted. He's got Tesla, and he's been helping out with the White House and everything else. And finally, when I got busy on X, and I started to get a lot of followers, and he squelched that too. I mean, that kind of went away, and so algorithms changed, but yet hate posts were prevalent, and finally they did something. Same with Meta. Mark and Zuckerberg's a Jewish guy. I mean, it's even more disgraceful when you've got.
Well, I think that's about money. It's about keeping your billions. Billionaires really want to be billionaires, and you can't. I haven't been on X for a long time. I had to get rid of that immediately when I found out that they were just going to allow hate. And the same Meta, I don't want to get rid of it. I've been on there a long time. I have a lot of friends there. We communicate a lot back and forth, but it's the same thing. There's no longer any kind of, there was never offense, like there should have been through government intervention, even though Zuckerberg asked for it. He actually said, he talked to Congress and told Congress they should be looking at things, especially to protect kids, and they've done nothing. And now you don't have to. You don't have to do anything. That's why, crazily, I find TikTok to be less that way, but it still has, the algorithms have completely changed in the last 5 months. From what I'm told.
I'm new to TikTok, but I'm a social media whore. I mean, so as much as people are promoting hate, I'm trying to promote love and peace and education.
And I find more of that on TikTok than anywhere else. Not that I'm on that many social media sites. I'm on 3, I think. 4 if you count LinkedIn. But I see more of that on TikTok. It's amazing. People trying to, promote what you're talking about and able to get out there more. And then on the other side, you'll see people cut off for who knows why.
That's good, because we can't solve the world's problems by ourselves. We got to do
exactly.
one person at a time, whether it's anti-Semitism or homelessness or texting and driving or illegal immigration. And we can go on and on. The list of problems are there. I mean, I took my little corner of it with the fight against anti-Semitism, but LinkedIn's pretty good too. I've got a lot of contacts now with LinkedIn that have helped me get book presentations and podcasts, and that actually post about the war going on now and the Holocaust and re-educating people. And it's great. I think if I had to give up all the social media except for one, I think LinkedIn would be the last one for me, because highly professional. There's not a lot of BS on it, and it works. And LinkedIn's got 1 billion people, almost 1 billion people as well. So and Meta, I think, is 2 billion. That's a lot of people. That's what, half the planet.
It's crazy. People were whining about TikTok being shut down. Mostly it was the people making money on TikTok that were whining about it. That's really one of the smallest social media sites out there, but it's just so popular with kids. Also, Blue Sky, I just wish would blow up more, but Blue Sky
I just got on Blue Sky too.
It's not going to make it because it doesn't use those kind of... they don't work the data that way. They let you see what you want to see. They don't force feed you stuff. That's what's great about Blue Sky. What's not great about it is there's nobody on there. But it's great that you're on there, because it's far more, and they're not going to let hate speech on there. They're trying not to. They're trying to get people off there for hate speech. And the thing that I don't think people, I don't know if they don't care or they don't realize it or they don't believe it, but hate speech is not free speech. That's not what free speech is about.
Agreed.
There's a difference.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
You don't get to decide how long I live, how long you live, my parents, my brother, my friends. Only God gets to decide that. Unfortunately, if you're ill, that happens. So many diseases out there that can put you down, never mind other human beings. But nobody gets to decide how to practice my religion, your religion, how long you live, whether what the kind of money you make. And billionaires should realize you guys are going to be the targets too. If there's ever unrest in this country, civil war, God forbid, the people that are wealthy, they're first targets. So don't think you're living in a fortress with hundreds of guys with machine guns protecting you, because you're going to lose that battle. You're going to lose the battle. So look at Saddam Hussein and Castro and whoever else. I mean, it's Mussolini hung with his girlfriend right in the town square. So and then Hitler forced to. It's just he would have died. He would have been killed by his own people if he didn't kill himself, for sure.
Right.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that. Let's hope we can find peaceful solutions to
worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Well, military is important. It's a good thing we have a strong military. I think that helps. And unlike my mom and my dad and their fellow Jewish Hungarians, the guns are still pointed at the enemies and not pointed at them because they're Jewish. So big difference. The death, the killing, the homicide, the genocide on the Danube at the end of World War II was a horrible story. It was 21,000 people shot in cold blood, nude, and falling into the Danube, which was freezing cold, late in the war, and no reason for it. Just just a senseless murder, and that's all it was.
Right, just anger and control, just trying to
Control is a
stay
big
in control. Yeah.
control
Which
is a I haven't said that in a while, but control is a factor in hate. Some of it
oh
might be
yeah.
poverty. Some of it's of course is education. You believe what you're brought up in your household. The wanting of territory, I mean, like Gaza, in Ukraine, I suppose, even Hungary. You needed a map. You needed a program to see how the country's changed so much in World War II and before and after. Can't even keep up with it. But so education, poverty, and of course religious rivalry, and it's just how you're raised. Jewish people aren't raised to hate, at least not the ones that I know. Christians too. It's not, and most Muslims. I've got a lot of Muslim friends and Asian friends, and so did my parents. Hindu, people from continental Africa, all over. And here in Florida, I love the Haitians and the Jamaicans are my favorite people. They're laid back, they're intelligent, they're hardworking, they engage with you, and I just love their methodology. I love the way their society, the way they live, family oriented, just like Jewish, Italian. I mean, we all should be like that. That's another big lesson from the book is you can change vectors. Don't just sit and wallow in pity, self pity, or go protest. Go do something else. Change your jobs. Work part time. Spend more time with your family. Give back to society. Volunteer somewhere. Write a book. Write a play. Write a movie. Whatever. Just do something that because life on this planet is extremely short relative to everything else. And time is really our only commodity. We talk about stocks and bonds and real estate and crypto, and but time is our commodity, truthfully. So make the best of it.
Right. Time is our only commodity. And yeah. I mean, the reason we have so many billionaires is because we've put value on things that don't have any value. The stock market wasn't actually created to make money. It was created to raise money to fund large and small corporations. It wasn't there just to make money for millionaires. That wasn't the idea of the stock market. And now it's gotten completely convoluted. And yeah, I mean, people become billionaires without trying necessarily. I mean, it can happen by accident where that didn't used to be the case.
Paris Hilton, that's a good example. I don't know if she's a billionaire. But Oprah Winfrey, I think she was the first African American female billionaire, but I'm sure she worked hard all her life. She, Tiger Woods and LeBron James and Eddie Murphy and all these fantastic African American people, they worked hard. They worked hard for their money. I'm not even saying they're billionaires. I don't know.
I think Oprah might be. The rest of them are just doing well. But
but Paul McCartney is, he's the first musician billionaire. Bono, they worked hard. Paul McCartney's still touring. I mean, and I'm seeing Ringo Starr, by the way, Friday. So Ringo Starr's worth like $300 million, and he's well into his 70s. He looks great, and he's got this all-star band surrounding him. And who wouldn't want to play with Ringo? So, but I'm saying, we talk about all these stereotypes about big noses or being cheap or all worried about money. I'm going back to what my dad said. Don't do it for the money. And believe me, with this fight against anti-Semitism, I'm not making money on this. I'm just trying to send a message and hopefully sell a few books. But it's not all about that. It's just it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, there was when I was younger and when we were younger, there was all kinds of anti-Semitic jokes all the time on, talk shows. It was nobody tiptoed around any type of racist jokes, anti-Semitic jokes, sexist joke. And now there's a big push to try not to do that, to be PC, I guess. And I'm not sure if it helps or hurts. I'm not sure. I mean,
that's a great point. I mean, who knows? I mean, you're right. The commercials we see now on television, the way people talk, the way the behavior is. This came up the other day too. It's amazing the courtroom behavior, for example, the way we behave in court. Well, why can't we just do that everywhere? The way we're supposed to behave on an airplane when we're confined. It's a meeting room. To talk about socially awkward. Our behavior is appropriate. Our behavior is kind. Our behavior is got a little fear in it and education. But out in the real world, if you're out in the streets and you're just a sheep and you're following people that are just angry and you're angry too, that's not how people should behave. So it's a big difference. But propaganda occurred back even in the 30s in Hungary. They had newspapers. Newspapers were their social media, and they were racist. There were anti-Semitic articles and anti-Semitic ads and things like that. So that's how the word was spread through newspapers back then. And
Well,
then
that's true. I mean, this is how they got elected in the beginning of the U.S. They had flyers and leaflets, and that's what the word soapbox comes from. People stood on a soapbox and spouted out, all kinds of stuff. It wasn't all true.
no, Pony
Yeah,
Express, right? The Pony
yeah,
Express, the carrier pigeon.
exactly.
What was that?
Yeah, carrier
What was
pigeon. It
what was
was,
the movie? Life of Brian. That's how everybody communicated. Everybody had their own little mountain. Everybody had their own little stand and their own
oh,
little
right,
talk to.
right.
Hilarious movie. Not even as funny as Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but nevertheless a funny movie and very racist. Monty Python back in the '70s got away with a lot of it, but it was so hilarious and it was so absurd and so outlandish. Same with Archie Bunker from All in the Family. It was just so, and because Archie was harmless. I mean, he was a bigoted, racist, ignorant guy, but you saw him as that. But
Well, that was the whole idea. That was the whole idea. Is they're pointing a spotlight on this type of American. I mean, and it wasn't good. He wasn't supposed to be a good guy. That he was just this guy. This is how he was. And now they don't want to have like Blazing Saddles. When you see Blazing Saddles now, they bleep a lot of the words, which makes it a different movie. It's like you kind of have to hear these words to know why it's funny. And they're making fun of racism. The entire movie is a joke about racist people. And it's all so.
I know
yeah.
it's been a long time. I remember the old lady using the N word about I think it was Cleavon
Little.
Yeah, so
Little.
he was in an All in the Family. If you remember, it was one of the greatest episodes when they robbed the bunkers and they were all there. And the other one was Desmond Wilson, I think was his name. The guy, he was in Sanford's son. And
Oh yeah.
a lot of these actors, Maude, they got their stuff from All in the Family, and we saw a lot of that back in the '60s, '70s, even now from programs, whatever. But both of them were in All in the Family, and that was a great, very, very funny episode, and it just too hilarious. But they got away with it then. But now, there's a little more of an ebb and flow. It's more like I'm allowed to joke around with other Jewish people and have Jewish jokes. I mean, that's kind of it's on the edge, and African Americans have been known to do that same thing. I would, you're careful where you tread, but even then.
Right.
Don't stereotype. Don't put everybody from a certain race into one category or being angry or mean or greedy. It's not true. We've all got our own minds. We've all got our own hearts and our own viewpoints, and hopefully a little more to help others. That's help your neighbor, help a friend, buy somebody a cup of coffee. Pay it forward. That's a great concept, and that was a great movie too, by the way. Pay it forward if you haven't seen it.
Oh, I have seen that.
It's been a while.
It's a while ago. I think that had Haley Joel Osment in it.
Yeah, you got a good memory.
That just came out of nowhere. I don't know.
Helen Hunt, I love Helen Hunt. She's got the best neck in the business. She's
she's fantastic.
Never mind the boobs. I could kiss her neck.
Fantastic. She is a good one. Boy, I got really off track with our conversation.
I'm sorry. Elizabeth Shue is another one.
My fault.
I'm still trying to meet Elizabeth Shue. I love her. She still looks good. And I've reached out to Adrian Brody, a Hungarian Jew, and Natasha Leon. She was in I think it was called The Russian Doll, and she's Hungarian, and it was about Hungarian Jewish people, and tried to reach her. And I don't think it's apathy. These people are busy. They've got their own circle.
Oh yeah.
But the opposite of love, truthfully, in what I'm doing it is a fickle business. But the opposite of love, somebody said a couple of weeks ago, is fear. But to me, the opposite of love is apathy or indifference, and that's true. You're going to be apathetic or indifferent if things aren't affecting you directly. Now, if we had bombs in our streets here in Miami, or Hamas armed trucks and soldiers and those ugly flags and tanks rolling through the streets here in the United States, it would be a different story. The fear would be more pervasive.
Well, we do have something going on right now in that brown people are being arrested and detained without any evidence, without any due process, and they're being kicked out of the country, not necessarily, and sent to places they probably have never been in their life. And I think people don't care because they don't see how that's going to affect us yet. They don't quite see that could be a major problem.
Yeah, it's sad that all that has to happen. I mean, there's been so many illegal immigrants that have come through this country that a significant percentage of them are they're criminals, and if they have a record, I mean, they need to be processed the proper way. But if they're committing hate crimes, for example, they should be made to read books like mine, or see movies like Schindler's List and others, and be educated about the thing, and not just against Jews. How about Mississippi Burning? Another great movie that the African Americans in the '60s and the Jews were very persecuted in the South, and that was based on a true story. But another, Ghosts of Mississippi, all that. And
Yeah, yeah.
my mom always said blacks and Jews need to stick together, and I agree. And I don't want to just confine it to blacks and Jews. We all need to stick together.
We all need to stick together.
We're one race.
Every middle-aged white guy is not the same. We all we all need to stick together.
That's for sure. I don't know if I'm middle-aged or old, and I'm still trying to decide.
I think it's old. I'm afraid I can't really use middle-aged anymore, because I don't think I'm going to live another 60 years. That'd be old.
It'd be great. Yeah. Well, look at Noah. Noah loved his wine, but he lived to 700 and some years old, like his father Methuselah. But I guess you could argue that they measured time differently back then. Who knows? Like Jesus walking on water, I believe it, but maybe they had an ice storm on the Galilee the night before. Who knows? I mean, none of us was there, but great stories. And I've got a lot of respect for Christianity and Jesus and what his message was, and whatever miracles might have happened in his presence. They happened with Moses too. They happened with other leaders. So, but no, it's respect of faith, respect of each other's beliefs, as long as they're not violent, as long as they're not transgressive. That's the way to go. That's called tolerance.
I don't know where I saw this. It's been a while, but one of the most feared, some of the most feared people in the world are atheists. There's a very small percentage of them, actually, and probably a lot of people who are atheists don't say they're atheists, but it's some of the most feared people in the world, and I always thought that was very twisted. It's like if you don't have some kind of religious belief, people are afraid of that, and like you're going to do something because you don't believe in a higher power, which is ridiculous. It's really ridiculous, because people do.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, Hitler was probably an atheist. Stalin was probably an atheist. All these people, any repressive regime that wants the leader, the oligarchy, to be number one or 1 through 10,
right?
They'll probably be atheists.
They probably was atheist, but he didn't. He professed to be a Catholic. He professed to be someone that was interested in the church. He killed millions of people loosely in the name of religion. I mean, the same with the U.S. The U.S. wiped out entire races of people. That's what the Europeans did here. They wiped out races of people in the name of God. It was manifest destiny. That was
you can go way back. The Spanish Inquisition, and
there's another example.
And then of course, Islamophobia was rampant for many centuries, and plus we had natural disasters, the Black Plague, the Black Death, the flu, the big influenza pandemic during World War I, or right around that time, it's just a mixed bag of things that put the human race behind. Along my journey, somebody wrote, we're about 400 years behind because of all our BS, because of malfeasance and death and disease. We should already be, and to me, 400 years is a long time. We could have a cure for cancer by now, for all cancers. We could be the Jetsons right now. Instead of sitting in traffic in Miami or New York City, we could be in these little drones, 10 minutes to go what takes a 5-hour, 6-hour plane ride, which, as you know, is an all-day affair. I mean, thank you very much. Thank you very little, Mr. Bin Laden. Because of him, you got to get to the airport now 2-3 hours ahead of time, and it takes forever to get on and off, and security and all that. And it's very costly to our time, back to the time thing. But
well, you could say that was because of bin Laden. I actually would say that is because our response to bin Laden, because there's been a lot of articles written about the efficiency of the TSA system and what they're actually doing or maybe not doing. I don't know if you've ever been pulled out of line at the airport, but we have many times, and it's to run a swab over our phones to see if they're looking for drugs. So what does that have to do with keeping us safe?
It's got nothing to do with terrorism.
Nothing to do with terrorism.
I agree. Nothing. Taking our shoes off. One day I got to take my shoes off. Now I'm TSA pre-check, so I don't even have to take my belt off or my bag out of my plastic 3-ounce plastic bag, whatever the hell. my quart bag out of the bag. Now, why is it different now than it was, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? So a guy by the name of Robert Reed with the shoes. And why
Right.
3 ounces of liquid, 3 ounces of fentanyl can be devastating. You could kill a whole flight with that kind of thing. I mean, God
Oh,
forbid,
don't tell him that.
God forbid. Or,
Absolutely true, though.
ricin, what is it,
Yeah.
ricin or
Why 3 ounces?
poison.
It's pretty
Arbitrary.
random, and the amount. I mean, nobody. We take our shoes off. Nobody else has been found with a shoe bomb since that first incident. Nobody. And it's been a lot of years. And in the early days, they don't do this. Doesn't happen anymore. But in the early days, reporters would do stories about how many guns they could get through TSA, like once a year, and it was ridiculous. And they didn't do anything special. They just walked through with a gun.
It still happens. I mean, I think they eliminated the take off the belt rule because I always like to wear my shorts loose. So when I do have my pants fall off and I'm mooning the 3,000 passengers behind me, and TSA said, "Well, we'd rather take a chance of you being a rogue on a plane than you being the subway flasher." So anyway, I'm kidding, but
no, maybe that's it though. You might have a point because they finally are they've talked about getting rid of the shoe rule, and maybe that's because TSA pre. Maybe the TSA pre was like I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was to try and figure out if people really needed to do this stuff so they could loosen it up. And in certain airports, I know they're trying to have less rules and easier ways to get through the line.
Yeah, it's easier now. It's a little bit easier, but still,
it's loosened a bit.
I look at a line that's not TSA pre-check or clear. It's crazy. So, and interestingly, so I bring like for foot. I can't bring foot spray. You can't bring Lysol. You can't bring sprays. So instead of foot spray, I bring the powder for my feet. And interestingly, they checked the powder out in Europe, in Dubrovnik and in Rome. They didn't care as much about the liquids. Of course, I had a check-in bag too. So the heavy items, the big liquid items, you could pack. That wasn't a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But they were more curious about the powders. Very interesting. So I don't know. It changes every airport to airport, person to person. Who knows? And I mean, life is
true.
like that too. The rules change all the time, and same with COVID, the coronavirus. The rules change all the time, and by many people that didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't have any medical background or anything like that. So
it seems like that was one of the problems, that a lot of people were putting out procedures who didn't have any scientific background, and they weren't listening to people that did have scientific backgrounds. They weren't listening to doctors and disease experts and scientists. That wasn't being listened to, and it seems like it still is not being listened to.
It's
COVID is not
a recurrent theme. I'm sorry, recurrent theme.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, recurrent.
I agree. And same with I'm going back to the Gandhi and Moses and MLK and Noah. People didn't listen to them until it was too late, until somebody got assassinated, or a lot of these people. Or Moses wasn't even allowed to go to the Holy Land after everything he had done. Just because of a few transgressions that normally you and I would think of minor, but in the Lord's eyes, maybe not so much. But Gandhi was assassinated. MLK was assassinated. Medgar Evers. Yeah, the list goes on and on. I mean, and these were good people. These were people that should have been listened to, and their messages are still around. But it's hard to reproduce those messages.
Well,
listen to other things.
If we listen to all those people you're talking about, if we listen to those people you just named off, we would not be worshiping money. And then where would we be?
No, hopefully at the beach.
None of those people said worship money over all else. None of them.
No, of course
but
not.
But that's
what
we do.
That's the same way. Dad was the same way.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Yeah, God, family, country, sports, sex, and music tied for fourth. Although at my age, it's now sports, food, and music. And money and career are a little lower down the list.
Yeah, money is way down there. It's a way to take care of those things. It's it's a way it's a means to an end. It shouldn't be the end. It's taxes, become the end to a means.
National debt, taxes, inflation, all that, robbing, stealing, passwords. Why do we have to have passwords? Why do I have to have 3,000 passwords? Because somebody's trying to steal from me. They're all man-made things. These were not made. These were not made by God. They're not in the Torah, as a friend of mine would say.
They're not, definitely.
Inflation,
well, maybe
whatever. Yeah.
There might be a really good password in there somewhere.
Keep having to change it. I mean, I can't keep track. It's so ridiculous. You
It
know,
is ridiculous, and I saw the scariest talk with Dr. Michio Kaku. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong, but he did a talk about where computing is going with quantum computers. He was saying, we're 5 to 10 years from a quantum computer that anyone can use, and when they get them working, they will probably be open source. In other words, anyone will probably be able to get on that quantum computer from the internet, and there will be no passwords anymore. Because quantum computers will be able to go through all the possible passwords in seconds, in just seconds. So that's I don't know, that's a totally off topic, but
I hope that's
it's
effective.
interesting.
I mean, because I've been hacked. You probably, I don't know. I've been hacked more than once. PayPal and a debit card, and it was unbelievable what people. And even this kid down here that promised to help me with Instagram, and I paid him handsomely. And as he started to pretend to do work, but in the end, he ran away with the money without doing what he promised.
Yeah.
And I wanted to file with the police, and they said if the guy broke in with a crowbar and stole $100 of cash out of your drawer in your apartment or your condo, then you could press charges. But the guy stole thousands of dollars, and I went looking for him. He was a recruiter for doctors. And I ended up pitching him about the book, and he pitched me back about my website and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you never even know. Cute, good-looking kid, smile, high school educated, but very intelligent, pretty girlfriend. The whole, just the mask that he put on. So yeah. And that's another different type of malfeasance. But that's what we got to do is protect ourselves too, and our friends. And when I do get hacked or something like that happens, I advise other people, look, watch out for this person, or watch out for this site, or in social media, we see it all the time. The crypto,
we see all the time. Warning after warning after warning. I have not been hacked personally, but at least, well, I say 3, it's probably been 5 of the major corporations that have my information have been hacked. Yahoo was the first one, I think. Yahoo Mail, one of the 3 credit reporting agencies, which have everything about you, that was hacked. And they said, "Oh, we were hacked, and here's some free credit defense. Here's some free." Well, that does me no good. They can use that information in 5 years when I run out of that credit defense. And Facebook is another one. Facebook was hacked, and all of these, every single one of these hacks, they took months to tell anyone. It took them months to admit it because they didn't want to admit it, and they didn't have to admit it. So
accountability is a subject that comes up a lot. Accountability, and that's what that is: accountability and lack thereof. And that message goes to protesters right now. I mean, I don't know if you're protesting about exportation of illegal immigrants or students, or not allowing students in. That'll work itself out. But I'm talking about protesters that are calling for the death of you and me and Israel and the United States. That's that's hate. That's not free speech, like you said earlier.
That's a completely different thing. No, I just went to protest against the current government in the U.S. I went to protest against that. I think they're doing illegal things, and I think the person should have been impeached. And but it was a peaceful protest. It had nothing to do with. It didn't have any of that in it. Not the same thing.
You're not the only one who thinks that. I'm politically, like my dad, like the Russians describe my dad, not a real enemy. He was politically immature. And I guess you could describe me the same way. I just like reasonable government, not too much government, a government that trims down our national debt, takes care of our borders, protects us. That's what I'm looking for, the basics. Hopefully Social Security and Medicare make good. Who knows? That's up on the table now.
We'll see. All these things are on the table, and also what we're dealing with now is a government that's fine with hate speech. It's using hate speech to get their message out. It's using hate speech the same way that people have for years and years and years and years and years. That is part of their campaign. Is you should hate these people, and you should hate these people over here. And it goes not just by race, but it's now going to the political parties. If you can call the other party names and, say that they eat their young and they eat their dogs and cats, that this is a real thing. This is not something that should be in politics.
No, it really shouldn't.
It's really nuts.
I hate the expression, right side of the aisle, left side of the aisle. come together a little bit, just to make any attempt. I'm probably a little right of center, and I already told you what I want from my government, and I'm
Hmm.
glad they're not pointing the guns at you and I, and I hope it never comes to that. But
Well, technically they are. I mean, not
in a
they
way, I
may not
guess.
physically be doing that, but they are pointing the guns at American citizens, which they're not supposed to. That's what we were out there for.
Yeah, no, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. Something's got to change, but it's sad. I wouldn't want to be a politician right now. I wouldn't want to be a dean of a university with
Right.
daily protests on my I would hate
Yeah.
that. I would come up with different solutions. I would powwow with other deans and call my governor and say, "What are you going to do to help me fight anti-Semitism and let these Jewish kids and Jewish professors go to class?" Because they have
Exactly.
money to do that, and be happy you don't get sued. It's the other thing. If I'm a father of a kid that's in one of those schools, I'm going to pull them out of that school, and the next thing they're going to get is a letter from my attorney saying not only I want the money back from tuition, but also reparations for this kid's traumatized now. So and everybody has a right to be educated. And nobody's denying that. But
Well, no, people do deny that.
they
I don't think
instead,
that's right. People are completely denying that you have a right to be educated. They don't want you to be educated. Education breeds, um, brains. People
it does. No,
they
and yeah,
don't want that right now. There's a section of the U.S. who believe education is bad, and they're putting that out as propaganda. That education is bad. They're actually using the situation that you're talking about to demonize Harvard as a school, and I think that's very dangerous. I don't think we should let it. I don't think they should get a pass. Absolutely not. But I
no,
don't think they should be demonized because they need to work some stuff out. It's the same with going back and forth with the politics. You made a very important point. You said, "I don't want to be a politician right now. I don't know who would." Well, that's part of the problem. Younger people than us should be getting in there now and getting involved in politics, but it's gotten so
yeah.
ridiculous. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
even
antiquated.
yeah, it's
It's a bunch of sea turtles. It's a bunch of
it's
sea turtles. I agree.
right, right.
It should be people that know about crypto and know about technology and AI
And politics and
and
history, they should
politics.
know everything you're talking about.
And nice people, nice people.
Yeah, nice people would
Well, you
help.
like Trump or you like Trump or not, some do, some don't. At least my parents would stress that at least you got to vote. At least we had a chance to vote on who we wanted for governor, for mayor, for a city commissioner, for president, whoever, and Congress as well. So, but like him or not, I just wish that he would hold his cards a little closer to his chest and not say so much. If you're a little bit better poker player, that it would be appreciated because he doesn't need to tell our enemies what our next step is, our next plan. It should be. I mean, I like transparency. Don't get me wrong, but like you said, some of these hate comments. You just talk about Jerome Powell today. I was saying he was stupid.
Well,
The
this is
the
why,
chairman of the Fed is not a
yeah,
stupid guy. He's smarter than all of us combined. Believe me.
right.
He's
This is what
so
I mean. He says this about all kinds of people. You might have noticed by now. I'm a never Trumper. Absolutely. I'm so far to the right. I would fall off the earth if it was flat. I mean left. I'm so far to the left. I would
that's
fall
okay.
off because
That's okay. As
I
long as
believe in all these things that your religions teach about. That's where democracy comes from. It comes from those types of things. Everyone being equal and having an equal chance. And it got far. It's not been that way ever in history. There's never been such a system. But where we are now, I think, is pretty far off the rails.
it's
Pretty far
dangerous.
off the
I hope it
rails.
changes.
Yeah.
Look,
I mean,
I can't change the world.
anti-Semitism is being treated as okay in the U.S. right now.
Sadly,
It's
yeah,
yeah,
sadly, and worse in
yeah.
Canada. Yeah, Canada is a disaster. I mean, even in Australia, I was surprised. I did two 2-day book signings at the Holocaust Museum in D.C.
Hmm.
The mothership, and what an honor that was. I could do that every day, educating the kids, the families, talking about genocide and the Holocaust, anti-Semitism. But the people came all the way from Australia, and a guy said it's not an issue in Australia. And the next thing I know, I'm seeing synagogues being bombed in Australia. So it's you can't just sit on your laurel.
Right. It's an issue.
You need to be
Yeah.
vigilant.
Yeah.
And look, like I said, I can't do it alone. Fortunately, 99+% of us think normally, like you and I. We family, religion, maybe travel, a few extra shekels to enjoy a few toys or whatever the case may be, but not all this nonsense. I hate you, you hate me. let's fight these guys, let's gang up on each other. It's just not. It's not what God. It's not in the Torah. It's not what God wanted. There's no doubt about it.
And it's not reality either. I think that's pushed out there more than it is real. Because when you go to events of just about any kind, there's a mix of people there, and people generally get along. Unless you go to a city council meeting, I don't know about where you live, but they can be ugly.
Yeah,
I don't go to things like that.
No, I do sometimes.
But,
I get a little boring to me, and but I go to represent my thoughts if it's something important to me. There was a Holocaust survivor symposium in my community a few weeks ago, and I went to that, and it was packed. It was absolutely packed. And one guy was 100. He was just turning 100, and he was a drummer, and he did a little sample of his drumming, and he used to play the drums in the concentration camps, and that music was a big morale booster back then. Music, the arts, anything that you could do, because you had to be completely bored, besides being starved or sick or whatever the case may be. But I was appreciative to see that. But then I talked to some of the people that ran the meeting, and I said, look, these are first generation survivors, but soon they're not going to be all around. And here I am with this book that's a good book. It's been well received, and you guys know me, and it's hard to get a book presentation in my own neighborhood, even though I've been all over the country and even into Italy and Europe on a cruise to talk about it, which is really, really cool. But, my hometown, great support. But why, southern Florida, many, many Jewish people here. And it's not just for the Jewish people, it's for everybody. But it's so tough it's a fickle thing. But I like seeing that. That was very encouraging to me that the community would sponsor something like that. And they should do more of them. You reach out to other Holocaust museums, and I don't know, they're under construction but why don't you take my number and call me when you're done with the construction, so we can put something together. Or we don't have time on the schedule. We'll make time, double down. It's a real problem. We should have more people talking about it. It's not in our budget. Well, I'm not asking you for money. Just invite me down, see if you like my lecture, and if you do, you do, and if you don't, trust me, you will. But it's not that's the hard part of my business, is being ghosted, right, or being ignored, or back to the indifference part. It doesn't affect us. Well, God forbid it does. The rioting in the streets, LA, that they've been protesting in LA. Hopefully it doesn't come to the 1994 thing or the 60s and 70s with the African-American riots. It happened in Detroit, of course. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. But
I don't think it'll come to that. I know people in Los Angeles. I lived there for 11 years. It probably won't come to that. It's very unlikely. That's definitely not the direction they're going. The incidents you see are so small. They're showing you on the news the most exciting things that are happening, but most of the protests are very quiet.
Thank God.
Anyway, I love the name of your book. I love the idea behind the book. But the name of the book also is really awesome, and I appreciate you having. I've got to wrap this up because unusually I do have other things to do today.
No worries.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. And,
great chat. No, you're not a real enemy, just like my dad. And like I said, that's how a real enemy. Describe him. But he was a real enemy because he left the country. Good people. My mom and dad left the country, so they just didn't know. And the theme. And if you're looking for my book, just Google Robert J. Wolf, MD. That's me. Got my website, robertjwolfmd.com, YouTube channel. I'm on socials. We talked about socials. Or if you just Google Not a Real Enemy, you should find the book. And the theme recurs throughout the story.
Fantastic. And everything will be in the notes too. Read the notes. Leave a review if you want. Leave a note. You've been listening to Were You Still Talking? This is Joel Albrecht. And in the studio today, on the Zoomio, we've had Robert Wolf. You heard what we were talking about. It's very important. Thank you so much for listening. And thanks to my guest. He's been great. It's been fun. He's got more experience on podcasts than I do, I'm pretty sure. So
not by much, but stay with it. Stay with it. You're a great host.
Thank you.
I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you giving a crap. That's one good thing about this journey. As bad as all this, talk about the same thing every day in a different way, and trying to stay sane and trying to stay in the program. But it's nice meeting great people like you, and the people that interviewed me last week, and the people I meet in the streets and talk about this. It's such a wonderful thing to see how many people actually do care. If you just light a little match under them, just say, what do you think about this? And it's nice, and I appreciate the invite. I'm very honored and blessed to meet you.
I really appreciate that, and I mean, you reached out, so I appreciate you reaching out. It's been great. Thank you so much. Take care. Oh, and be good to yourselves. And of course, like we've been saying this whole podcast, be good to each other.